Hello, I'm Jackson, and this is Kareem, and we're reporting for Pop Culture on Regent Park TV. Today, we'll be talking about some of the lesser-known underground films that have come out in recent memory. First, we want to talk about Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping. This is sort of a mockumentary, parodical comedy from the guys from behind Lonely Island, who were that huge comedy music band that premiered so many songs on SNL and went viral, like such as Like a Boss and I'm in a Boat. All really hilarious, extremely popular songs of the internet age. And so this is their first film they've come out with, and it's suitably also about music. It's about a pop star similar to Justin Bieber or Macklemore going on tour, figuring out the problems with success, and sort of failing in that regard too. And so Kareem, what did you think of Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping?
So as a fan of the Lonely Island's previous work on YouTube and SNL, as a massive fan actually, I've been a fan for nearly a decade, I thought this was a great extension of their comedic genius and how they perceive comedy and how they use comedy to impact their work. And I thought this movie was really funny. I thought this movie was direct in its jokes, and the jokes were good, the jokes were solid, and the acting was great, and the cameos were also great. And it really was what I would expect a Lonely Island film to be. It was great. I liked the movie. It wasn't great, but I liked it a lot.
It was really fun. It made me think a lot about one of my favorite comedies ever. This is Spinal Tap, which was very similar to this in that it was a mockumentary, but instead mocking sort of the stadium rock, Aerosmith, Journey guys of the 80s. Well, this is top 40 stuff. And so it's very similar sort of water that it's treading, this movie. But that being said, I don't think it quite works as well as it could in another area, I don't think it's quite the best place the Lonely Island could have put there. As you said, comedic genius. They really are fantastic at what they do, because the life of a pop icon these days is really kind of amazing and hilarious within itself. For example, there's a direct scene in this film where the main character, played by Andy Samberg, who's a huge pop star, visits Anne Frank's house, which is a direct spoof of a thing Justin Bieber did, where he visits Anne Frank's house and says, I think to his publicist or something, that if Anne Frank were around these days, she'd probably have been a huge fan of mine, which is so ridiculous and amazing to say. It's kind of like difficult to make fun of. And I think that's where some of the faults of this movie lie, in that really, like, how much further can you go than the places that Justin Bieber and Katy Perry go these days? But would you agree?
I would agree with that. I'd also say that it kind of shows their genius, that they're able to actually push something that's already so ridiculous and stupid and make it even dumber.
That's true.
And make it incredible. Make it 3 levels worse.
That's a great point. Yeah, it is really funny. There's some great moments.
Yeah, and also the music in the movie, because they started off as a music group. The music is still consistent and it's still funny. It's still good. It's mastered very well. It's mixed very well. The lyrics are funny, and every song kind of tells a story in its own. Like, right. For example,
we don't have to go, but it's just for censorship reasons.
So some of the songs are very funny and inappropriate.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. So overall, really like the movie. Would recommend it. Great cast too, like Sarah Silverman's in it, Seal's in it, and a cool cameo. It's awesome.
It's full of cameos.
Full of cameos.
Like people who are very prominent in the industry.
Yeah, like Ringo Starr, Simon Cowell. Pretty amazing. Really fun movie. I'd recommend it as like a nice late night comedy.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Cool. All right. Next film, Swiss Army Man. Just really strange indie comedy, maybe not comedy, indie dramedy, maybe.
If you look at it through a very basic lens, it's a comedy.
That's right. Anyway, it's called Swiss Army Man, directed by a tag team of directors whose both their first names are Daniels, so they go under the moniker of Daniels. It's an extremely strange movie. It's about a guy trapped on an island, sort of like Tom Hanks in Castaway, and he discovers a corpse, flushes it into the shore, and he finds that the corpse is sort of like farting a lot because it's losing its bowels, and that if he puts him in a certain way in the water and like rides him like on his back, the farts will propel him through the water like a jet ski, so that he can hopefully get back to civilization. And the movie sort of follows them together, trying to get back, and the guy on the island played by Paul Dano, just using the corpse as like a machine gun, as all sorts of things, and also sort of like showing he's losing his mind, so he envisions sort of this mind within the corpse and kind of living a surrogate life with this corpse. It's extremely strange. But what did you think of it, Kareem?
I love this movie. I really like this movie. It was very strange. Like, it's just surreal, some of the moments in the movie. For example, the farting scene. That was the immediate first scene, and you get a taste, and you understand what this movie is about, how just crazy it is, how unique it is, and how creative it is, and how it uses its characters and how it uses its props, which is kind of the characters in itself.
Oh yeah, we should say the corpse is played by Daniel Radcliffe,
Yeah.
who was Harry Potter for so many years. It's so weird to see him
Yeah, it's-
roll this straight.
Especially like him getting like ridden like a jet ski.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and honestly, if you look at it through a very basic idea and see just the surface level details, it's a simple movie. It's just like farts and crude humor. But underneath all of that, the movie is trying to tell a story of isolation and how people feel and how people expose themselves to the public. And throughout the entire movie, you can always see the characters dealing with this, and you can tell he's kind of losing his mind when he's envisioning this corpse being real. But you can see how deep the movie actually goes. It goes several layers deeper into like the human psyche and how people use themselves in public, and a bunch of smaller details that you can easily miss, and it's very complicated. And it's a beautiful movie if you look at it.
Yeah, I'd agree. There are some extremely moving parts of it. Essentially, I think the best parts of this movie, and really most of the runtime, is spent on Paul Dano's character, sort of realizing that he's lived his life totally isolated, both literally and figuratively, from the world as this, and he's always been sort of alone, and he tries to, teach this corpse the beauties and wonders of life, and it's this really sort of beautiful pursuit of the human spirit, and I was genuinely moved and touched by those scenes.
Absolutely. What you were talking about, how it was teaching him the pursuit of happiness and pursuit of human psyche. He's being a hypocrite the entire time, right? Because he's not actually experiencing any of that in his actual life. He's trying to explain it to the.
But in that
relationship,
the relationship he has this corpse, which it's kind of a love story between him and the corpse. There's a kiss. There's a lot of really sort of like basic rom-com beats that it hits, which is really, really sort of crazy and fun. And I don't know. He basically lives his life through this inanimate guy.
It's really hard to explain this movie without it sounding completely infantile, without it sounding like a joke. But the movie really is an interesting, thought-provoking piece.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. Also, technically, a lot of the shots in the movie were incredible. There's a bunch of shots of the nature and everywhere that they were shooting, and there were shots of people coming out of lakes that were beautiful. You could see the water droplets falling off their skin. It was a really well shot movie with interesting and captivating camera angles throughout the whole thing.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a beautiful flick, and both actors involved were terrific. Kind of amazing what they did, and yeah, I would highly recommend this movie, and not just as like a crazy weird thing. I think it's quite rewarding to the viewer.
It's not like a popcorn eating movie. It's a movie you sit down, eat popcorn for the first 30 minutes, put your popcorn down, and then watch the movie.
That is a great way to put it. Yeah, that's right. All right, so those are the movies we're going to talk about collectively. But individually, we have some personal recommendations to talk about. So I wanted to mention this film that came out last year called Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Another Sundance movie. Didn't make a lot of money at the box office, but was this very beautiful high school story about this kind of lonely, self-hating guy who meets this girl who has cancer and sort of befriends her and tries to, understand himself and mortality in his life. And it's a very beautiful story. The soundtrack is fantastic. It's done by, they use music from an old composer named Brian Eno, who's just makes some of the most beautiful music, I think, of the past century. I thought it was a really, really beautiful story for anybody who's a sucker for high school movies or just movies about finding, I don't know, sort of interesting, truthful relationships. Really
and
good movie.
Yeah, and the movie that I'm going to be recommending is a movie called The End of Tour, which is based around the Rolling Stones article of the hit author David Foster Wallace, and it follows him and it follows the author of the article interviewing David Foster Wallace throughout the movie, and it shows the troubled life that he lived and what really happened. And it stars Jesse Eisenberg and Jason Segel, which is really interesting for an indie movie to have those two A-list actors on it. And it did all right at the box office.
Yeah, it did okay.
It did okay, but it's a very interesting movie, and it shows more about addiction and more about the actual author, David Foster Wallace, and what his life was like. And I really liked that movie, and I know Jackson loved it as well.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit too. Yeah, great. Yeah, so thanks for watching. This has been Pop Culture for Regent Park TV with Jackson and Kareem.
Bye.